Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series, where I go over each 2024 NCAA Men's College Basketball Conference tournaments. This is the third of 32 shows, and this conference that we'll be focusing on today will be the Sun Belt. The tournament will be held at the Pensacola Bay Center in Pensacola, Florida. So that's interesting of a neutral site choice. So the tournament will begin Tuesday, March 5th with the first round, the 7th of March for the second round, the 9th of March for the quarterfinals. The semifinals will be March 10th. That will be on Sunday. And then Monday the 11th will be the championship. So let's quickly go over the teams and the seedings before we get into the bracket. So your one seed for this tournament, 26-5 overall in the season, 16-2 in conference play, the Appalachian State Mountaineers. Second in this conference, 28-3 overall, 15-3 in conference play, the James Madison Dukes. Third in this conference will be the Detroit Trojans, 20-11 overall, 13-5 in conference play. Fourth, the Arkansas State Red Wolves, 16-15 overall, 11-7 in conference play. Fifth, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, 18-13 overall, 10-8 in conference play. Sixth, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, 16-15 overall, 9-9 in conference play. Seventh, the Georgia State Panthers, 14-16 overall, 8-10 in conference play. Eighth, the South Alabama Jaguars, 16-15 overall, 8-10 in conference play. Ninth, the Georgia Southern Eagles, 8-23 overall, 8-10 in conference play. 10th, the Marshall Thundering Herd, 12-19 overall, 7-11 in conference play. 11th, the Texas State Bobcats, 14-17 overall, 7-11 in conference play. 12th, the UL Monroe Warhawks, 11-18 overall, 6-12 in conference play. 13th, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, 8-21 overall, 5-13 in conference play, and the Cellar, 7-24 overall, 3-15 in conference play, the Old Dominion Monarchs. All right, so without further ado, here we go. The first round will begin Tuesday, March 5th. We have 13 seed Coastal Carolina and 12 seed UL Monroe. My projection is UL Monroe 2.5 total 146. And for fifth, UL Monroe's best player is Nika Mechvarvashili. Let's say that again. Mechvarvashili. That's a tough one to pronounce. And then Coastal's best guy is Jacob Meyer, who probably will be the best guy on the court, but UL Monroe's the better team, so I'm going to advance them. 14 seed Old Dominion and 11 seed Texas State. I have Texas State 3.5 total 142 and 3/20. Texas State did lose Tyrell Morgan early in the season. That was a big loss for that team. Maybe they would have been better had he not gotten hurt. Jordan Mason's a good player for them. Old Dominion, they probably have the best guy in the court in Chauncey Jenkins. And I don't know if they'll win that game. But they also lost a player due to injury. Vashon Alette, which is a big loss for Old Dominion. So I'm going to advance Texas State. All right, second round, March 7th. That's a Thursday. 9 seed Georgia Southern, 18 South Alabama. My projection, South Alabama by 6, total 150 and 17/20. Georgia Southern was awful in non-con play, but they really turned it around in conference play. Their best player is Tyron Moore, over 16 a game. And then South Alabama, they are the deeper team led by Isaiah Gator. So I'm going to advance South Alabama to the quarters. Second of 4 second round games, 12 seed UL Monroe, 5 seed Louisiana. My projection is Louisiana 7 3/4. Louisiana is just a better team, led by Kobe Julian, so I'm going to advance them. Third of 4, 11 seed Texas State and 6 seed Southern Miss. My Southern Miss by 4 1/4. We talked about how Texas State lost their best player, arguably, after 2 games. Southern Miss lost one of their better players in Andre Curbelo, but he came back and has been pretty good for them since he's been back. And their best guy all year has been Austin Crowley. So I'm going to advance Southern Miss. And then the fourth of 4 second round games, 10 seed Marshall, 7 seed Georgia State. Marshall's having a disappointing year. They have a big 2 that they rely on. And then Georgia State, who's usually a contender in this league, not as good as usual. They have a big 3 led by Lucas Taylor, who averages over 14 a game. My projection is Georgia State by only 1 1/4 to the 150 and a 10, so I'm going to advance Georgia State. All right, the quarterfinals. So 4 teams here get a double bye. This will be beginning on Saturday, March 9th. 8 seed South Alabama, 1 seed Appalachian State. App State's so good, led by Trevion Spillers and Donovan Gregory. So I'm going to advance App State. And the line here is App State 12.4. All right, the quarterfinals. 5 seed Louisiana and 4 seed Arkansas State. Ark State, a pretty decent team. Well-balanced, led by Terrence Todd. And Louisiana, I just like them more. I actually have them favored here, 2 1/4. So I'm going to advance Louisiana in the 5/4 upset. Third of 4 quarterfinal games, 6 seed Southern Miss and 3 seed Troy. Troy's turned it on in conference play, led by Christian Eugene, over 15 a game. I have Troy 3.9, so I'm going to advance Troy. In the last of 4 quarterfinal games, 7 seed Georgia State and 2 seed James Madison. The Dukes are awesome. They have a chance to be an at-large, so pressure's on them here. They have the best guy on the court in Terrence Edwards Jr., so I'm going to advance JMU. Obviously, I have them projected 13.5 over Georgia State. And the semifinals, Sunday, March 10th, 5 seed Louisiana and 1 seed App State. App State is just a better team, led by Spillers and Gregory. I have them projected 9.1 over Louisiana, so I'm going to advance them. In the second of 2 semifinal games, 3 seed Troy, 2 seed James Madison. Troy's not a bad team, but I think JMU is better. I project them 6.7. So JMU I have advancing, led by Edwards. And then in the finals on Monday, March 11th, 2 seed James Madison, 1 seed App State. That will be 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Central on ESPN2. I have this projected as a pick'em. So this was a difficult decision to make. Both these teams are really fun to watch. App State has been arguably the deeper team with Spillers, Gregory, and Harcum. But James Madison is probably the better team. And you could argue they're the deeper team with Edwards, Bickerstaff, Friedel, and Wooden. I'm going to pick James Madison. I'm actually going to pick the 2 seed to win the auto bid. And in App State, I think will be headed to the NIT after a really good run in conference play to get themselves in the at-large conversation. But I do think App State will be a 2 seed in the NIT when it's all said and done. And James Madison will be like a 10 seed in the Big Dance. I don't think they'll be in Dayton unless they lose the title game. But if they lose before the semifinals or before the title game, they're going to the NIT, James Madison. If James Madison loses in the championship game, I think they're going to be an 11 seed in Dayton. If they win the Sun Belt tournament, I think they'll be a 10 seed. If not, an 11 seed that avoids Dayton. So, most outstanding player of this tournament, I absolutely do think it is going to be Edwards from James Madison. So, FanDuel value to win the tournament. I think James Madison is probably a plus favorite, maybe like plus 150 in App State. I could see like being like almost 2-1. So, let's see here. James Madison's plus 140, App State's plus 210. So I was close. Troy 6-1, Louisiana and Arkansas State are each 10-1. Southern Miss is 35, South Alabama's 45, Georgia State's 75, Marshall 75, Texas State's 130, Georgia Southern's 200, Coastal Carolina, Yale, Monroe, and Old Dominion are each 250. The value to win this tournament, I think, is on the Raging Cajuns. I think that Kobe Julian is a player that could carry a team to the Big Dance. So I think Louisiana at 10-1 would be my value pick to win this tournament. So we did other tournament opportunities. I did say James Madison, NIT, if it loses before the title game. App State, NIT, if it doesn't win the auto bid. Louisiana, I think, will be in the CBI, and I think Troy will as well. Although I think Troy has an NIT case if it loses in the title game, and same for Louisiana. And I do not see Arkansas State being in the CBI, but I could be wrong. Same for Southern Miss or South Alabama. Those are like dark horses to be in that tournament. Or even Texas State if they go on an unexpected run. But I think worst case scenario, App State, James Madison if it loses NIT. But James Madison will be an at-large, I think, if it loses in the title game. But if it loses before the title game, I think it'll be NIT. App State will be in the tournament only via the auto bid, I think. But they'll be NIT if they lose. So coaching opportunities. There's a lot of them here. Obviously, Dustin Kearns, I think, will get a better job. He's done a great job this year. And, of course, Mark Bington. I think Bington's going to be the coach of the year in this conference. He's done the best job, in my opinion. I do think that Scott Cross could end up with a better job. And even Bob Martin, who's been at Louisiana for a long time now. Hot seat coaches. Dan D'Antoni has been at Marshall for a really long time. 10 years. That's crazy. I remember when they hired him. That's obviously the brother of Mike D'Antoni. So maybe Dan D'Antoni gets axed at Marshall. We'll see if Benny Moss gets retained or not at Coastal. Will Kieran Donahue be retained? Probably not, would be my guess. Terrence Johnson, I don't think, is a hot seat guy. They were good last year, but they took a step back. I think Richie Riley will be okay. Charlie Henry did a good job in the second half of the season, getting them to 8 wins. Jay Ladner, I don't think is going anywhere. So, yeah, I think the coach on the hottest seat, I would say, is Dan D'Antoni. If not him in this league, then I don't know who. Maybe some of them we're not thinking of. Teams that I think could bounce back. Marshall, I think, will probably be a candidate. Texas State for sure. Step back. App State obviously stands out to me as a team that could take a step back next year. Donovan Gregory's a senior. Trevon Spillers will be back, which is good news for them, barring transfer. James Madison, Terrence Edwards will be back. TJ Bickerstaff is a senior, so unlikely he's back. But I do think JMU is more likely to repeat its success than App State, so I say App State takes a step back. Georgia State's obviously another bounce-back team. Jonas Hayes, I do not think, is on the hot seat by any stretch of the imagination. So I think they'll probably be better with some young guys that are relying on the jump, barring transfer. So there you have it for the Sun Belt. That was a long one. That's a big conference, obviously. Next up is the Horizon League, which will be a shorter show than this.